Wow, good morning. It is truly an honor to be here with you today. Thank you to Rachel and to Mike and to Tim for having me. Thank you to Stephanie and to Trish for bringing me into the fold. Thank you for that beautiful music, right? Yeah, exactly. And most of all, thank you to all of you for being here this morning, for being willing to listen, and to being open to creativity and to collaboration. It's a good thing. So, when I received the topic of this morning's conversation, I was a little stumped. You see, I work in the performing arts. So when you marry a word like preserve with the performing arts, things can get a little dry. So I spent a lot of time thinking about something that I could talk about for 20 minutes that would not put you all to sleep. I know you have coffee, but still. I didn't come up with too much at home. So I took the conversation into my office and I talked about it with my coworkers a little bit. And as you can imagine, when you get a bunch of arts people together and you start talking about preserve, it got a little cerebral. And the conversation spiraled downward, and it got, I don't know, it was looking pretty bad for you guys, I just have to say. But finally, one of my coworkers spoke up and he said, "Rae," and he shrugged his shoulders and he said, "Just talk about jelly." Okay, so here it goes. When you make jam or jelly or preserves, you start with a single perfect fruit. Let's say raspberry, because that's my favorite fruit. Through a magical combination of forces, sunshine, rain, soil, nutrients, bees, and time, this single perfect raspberry is formed. And you collect hundreds of these raspberries, right? And you put them all into a mix and you throw away the ones that might not be so great. You take the seeds out if you don't particularly like seeds. Hopefully you remove all the insects. And you put them into a big mix. And you blend them up and you mash them up and you boil them down. And then you add things. Maybe you add sugar. Definitely add sugar. Maybe you add some coloring if you're into that. You probably add some pectin to really thicken it up a little bit. And then you find some way to package it. Maybe you have a cute little glass jar with a designer label and an adorable little gingham top. Seen those? Maybe you throw it in some Tupperware and you toss it in your freezer. Doesn't matter. However you choose to package it, the result is the same. You have preserved the essence of that single raspberry. So, art is kind of like that too, right? Artists take all the elements of a situation and they mix them up and they throw out the bad stuff and they boil it all down until they come up with a work that represents the essence of something. Through drawings, photographs, songs, music, dance, theater, artists preserve the essence of a moment, a person, an emotion, a place, a historical event, a movement. Think about Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, or Gustav Klimt's The Kiss, or Van Gogh's self-portrait. What moment did each artist choose to preserve? What do you choose to preserve? My children are amazing, smart, talented human beings whose coming into this world forever changed my essence. They are also both going through the prime of their teenage years at the exact same time. My 15-year-old son likes to substitute the word bro for mom on a regular basis. As in, "Bro, are we straight up out of bread?" Or, "Bro, listen to this jam." Or my favorite, "Bro, why'd you take my cell phone again?" My 13-year-old daughter likes to roll her eyes at me and go, "Oh, Mom, you are so extra." extra? What does that even mean, extra? It's got to be good, right? But through all this transition, pre and middle pubescent angst, I have this picture of them hanging in my living room wall. And in it, they are adorable toddlers. They're standing in our backyard, and the grass is long and unmowed, and behind them peek these two giant sunflowers. They grew these sunflowers from seed with my husband. They're wearing this brightly mishmash of clothing that I sewed myself in the days when I was still trying to overachieve at motherhood. My son is sporting a look that we commonly referred to in those days as rock eater, because he was missing so many of his baby teeth. My daughter has her index finger up in the air, and on it sits a tiny slug. And they are wearing the biggest smiles and the brightest look of joy that you could possibly imagine, as if nothing in the world would make them happier than standing in my long, unkempt backyard wearing really tacky clothes and holding a slimy insect. Now, moments ago, they could have been screaming bloody murder because there was one red popsicle and they both wanted it. They could have been pounding their fists on the dirty floor of our local Ingles while other parents looked at me in judgment. One of them could have been the topic of a call from preschool, where the teacher told me that they had bitten another child. And oh, by the way, it was the teacher's child. My 2-year-old could have told me in a tiny voice, "I hate you, Mom." Not that any of this ever happened, but it could have. The point is that the artist behind the camera, who was not me, the artist chose this moment to preserve, and in doing so, this moment of pure joy, of shining innocence. This is the moment that will carry forward. This is the moment that we will remember. Because artists have that superpower. When Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote Hamilton and the musical skyrocketed to fame, he forever changed the way that a generation of people will look at our American founding fathers. Maybe you know this song. We shall overcome. Now, I'm not a singer, even though I work in the performing arts, so I'm hoping you'll help me out here. Would you stand up and sing this with me? Stretch a little bit. Good, good. All right, all together. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep. Come on, singers. My heart. Someday. Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you. So, I am obviously pretty darn white. My freckles have little freckle families. I get burned walking through Target. Because of this skin that I was born into, I will never truly understand the struggles faced by our brothers and sisters of color every day in our society, though I try. But when I hear this song, when I stand in a room with all of you and sing it, I usually can't finish. Because that artist creates in me, that song, a deep feeling in my bones that I imagine is just a portion of the pain the struggle, and the strength, and the feeling of hope that comes with standing together. Because artists can do that, right? Artists take all the elements of a situation and they mix it up and they make the jam. Now, maybe you're an artist. Maybe you work in a creative field. Maybe you don't. It doesn't matter. Because you still make choices every single day about what to preserve. Through the books that you read, the music that you listen to, the television that you watch, whether or not you vote, how you raise your children, the choices that you make about our environment. Every single one of these has a ripple effect on our world. No pressure, right? So, while you're out there saving the world, flying through the wind, choosing what to preserve with your cape flapping behind you, how do you turn that practice inward and decide what is worthy of preserving in yourself? Close your eyes for a minute. Now ask yourself this question. What is my essence? And while you're thinking about that, let me remind you that your essence is not your story. It is not where you've been. It is not who you love. It is not what you have. It is not where you work. It is all the things in you, the driving force in you that helps you make decisions that lead to your story. So what is your essence? Do you have it? Awesome. So I'm lucky. At a really young age, I figured out what fuels me. My grandmother used to take me to plays when I was little. And I remember sitting in a production, I was about 8 years old, and the curtain went up, music started, the lights went on, and I had this incredible feeling in my stomach. It was like butterflies. It sort of felt like gurgly, right? And it started rising, and it rose up into my chest, and it expanded until my heart felt like it was going to explode. And then went a little further into my throat, and I kind of felt like I was getting a cold. My throat felt sore. And then it went up into my head, and it went behind my eyes, and all of a sudden there were tears coming down my face. I was like, what? What is going on? I had no idea what was happening. But somehow I felt at that age, at that moment, that I was meant to be a part of this, that I was an artist. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was going to do with that, how I was going to make choices around that for the rest of my life, but I knew that I belonged there. So the years went by, and I wore that artist badge, like a badge of honor, right? I was unique. I was sensitive. Does this sound familiar? I was different. I wore brightly colored clothing to express myself. I raged against the machine, the man, the systems, the corporations. No one was going to tell me what to do. That's right. It's my husband. I went to protests. I participated in poetry readings, anything to emote, to share my essence with the world. A few decades passed. Now life looks a little different, right? There are all these complicated layers placed on top of my essence. A mortgage, a wonderful husband, 2 kids, a career, a car that doesn't have to be revived at every stoplight. I have a more intimate relationship with my computer than I care to admit. My office chair has molded to the shape of my ass. Instead of long, flowy dresses and bare feet, I wear pencil skirts and heels. I wear thongs for non-recreational reasons. My artsy right-sided brain that regularly struggled with math in high school is now daily asked to comprehend and to speak intelligently about things like strategic planning, economic impact, return on investment, audience demographics. Gone are the days of emoting. Because as a leader, and particularly as a female leader, emoting is highly discouraged. In fact, showing emotion of any kind can be considered a weakness. It's pretty tough for someone whose essence is based in emotion. So what now? What do you do when life layers all of these things on top of your essence? How do you choose? I have to admit, I almost threw this talk out several times because I got to this point in writing it, and I thought I had to have the answer. I imagined standing up here in front of you, you creative geniuses, you world changers, and I would serve up inspiration on a platter. I would bring it to you, I would lay it at your feet, and I would say, there you go, you are welcome. I can't do that. 'Cause I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I'm just walking through this life the same as you day to day, making choices about what to preserve in the world and in myself. But I do know this. We get to choose every day. We decide what goes into the mix and what doesn't. We are the jam makers. So, in my current job, I may not spend my days in deep creative contemplation while casually flicking a clove cigarette. But when I sit in our theater, when I feel the energy between an artist and an audience, and I know that even for 2 hours their lives have been touched, when the curtain goes up, when the music starts, when the lights come on, I feel that familiar bubbling in my stomach. And I know that my essence is still there. When I watch my kids play music, when I see their essence, their jam in action, I feel like my heart is going to explode. And I know that somehow I am honoring my essence. So what about you? What brings you so much joy, so much passion that your body can't contain it, that the tears flow from your eyes? What is your jam? What do you choose to preserve? Thank you.